Hi, this is Stephen A. Williams, President and founder of the CreditRepairShop.com. We're going to talk about medical debt. There is a, a bill that was passed last year or earlier this year, that would stop medical providers from sending you surprise medical bills. And this is a huge, a big issue right now. It was a big issue in the past where you had went to your doctor and then all of a sudden you got a surprise medical bill. And let me tell you how you can have insurance. You can do the right thing and have insurance, and you can still end up with a bill. This stopped, what the bill had stopped uh, medical providers from being able to do is if the insurance company and the medical provider, the hospital, were not able to agree on an amount that the insurance would pay, the hospital would end up sending people uh, a bill for the remaining amount. And you had no uh, notice. It was just they call it a surprise bill. That's actually what the law stated in there is that no more surprise bills. So the medical providers end up doing a lawsuit to put it on hold. This is supposed to go into action on January 1st of 2022. There would be no more surprise medical bills from your providers. And so right now, as it stands right now, a medical provider, even if you have insurance, they can perform the services. They can try to bill the insurances, and a lot of people don't know that when they send a bill to the insurances, the insurance companies negotiate with them and say, hey, you're trying to send us this bill for our client for $10,000 for fixing their broken arm or whatever, and some medication and painkillers that you gave them. We only believe that we should have to pay $7,000. And then the hospital and the insurance adjuster, they'll go back and forth, and they'll say, okay, let's agree on 7,500. And you wouldn't even receive a bill for it. They would just pay it. Well, it looks like what is happening now, especially with what we're going through with COVID and different things, is that the insurance companies are not willing to pay. So say it was, they would have usually, met and said, hey, 7,500, we're okay, we'll take that. Well, it looks like the insurance companies now are going even further, saying, hey, we don't want to even pay 7,000, we only want to pay you maybe $6,000. And then what the medical providers and hospitals are doing is they're sending that extra $1,000 to the person who got the medical services. You and I, they send us the bill. They called it a surprise bill. You didn't even know it was coming. You got it in the mail. You're like, hey, I got insurance. This should have been paid. And they're like, hey, they didn't pay it. Now, one of the crazy things about this is with all of the things that go on about, like doctors don't want to take Medicaid, they don't want to take certain insurances from from the federal government because they don't pay the full amount, or they don't pay enough. They have limits on what they'll pay for certain services. So there's certain doctors that won't even take those types of insurances. Well, this is really the same thing. There's doctors now, they're not going to be taking certain private insurances because they're going to say your insurance will only pay a certain amount. So they criticize the federal government for this same thing that now private insurances are now doing. So it looks like the answer to this, and I think a lot of this stems from insurance companies just wanting to make more money. Because if you look at it in, like, I'll give you an example of my insurance. With my insurance that I use, it's called Common Ground. I bought that from the exchange. I pay for me and my wife roughly about $1,100 a month for that insurance. And even at $1,100 a month, even with um, My wife having transplant surgery that was over $1 million. Even with her medications, that was $11,000 a month for years, for years. With all of that being said, I mean, all of those expenses, we still got a rebate back each year because the insurance company did not spend 80% of the money that they collected. They did not spend 80% of it on medical services for people. And that's what insurance is for, is to provide the to pay for the medical services, like a pool of people put payments into it. And with all of the people that were in our pool, still with my wife's over $1 million, for 1 year over $1 million, and the medications and all of the stuff, and then my checkups and stuff that I did, and we still got a rebate back each year that we've had this insurance. So we know already with that experience that medical insurance companies make multi-billions of dollars more than what they pay out. But now what seems to be happening, and the the reason why they had to do that 80% was because when Obama came out with the Affordable Healthcare Plan, it said that if they don't spend 80%, they can't take the 20% and just put it in their pocket as bonuses. They have to push out rebates to people, their customers, which is fair because when you look at insurance, if it's not utilized, it's like something that you pay into and it's not utilized. There was no benefit to the consumers who were paying in. So with the affordable health care, what they did is they said, okay, you can't just throw all of that in the budgets. I mean, in the bonuses, you had to give some of that money back to people. Now, think about it, I thought it was fair because they paid insurances, paid for all of the services for people. They got bonuses, and then they just gave rebates back also. So I thought that was very fair, but it looks like what the insurance companies want to do is they want to say, okay, we know our 80% deal that we have to abide by with the Affordable Health Care law. We want to see what are ways that we can push back on that so we can make more bonuses, because this is basically what it's all about. If they have the money to pay for the for certain procedures, they had the ability to negotiate on what they will pay for certain procedures. Um, and if the hospital accepts it, why would they then come around and send you a surprise bill? So this is all about where the insurance companies feel that they can have pushback, and then the medical providers, what they'll do is they'll just send you that surprise bill. So I don't know how this is going to work out right now, right? This was something that both Democrats and Republicans had both agreed to, but it seems like in the article that I'm reading that there are some lobbyists for the medical providers that they want to fight back, and they're saying that they do not want this to go into action on January 1st, that they want to be able to send people these surprise bills, which would be like uh, very disruptive to people's finances, because they would think that, hey, I'm paying insurance all of this time, and then they're not. Uh, I'm still getting hit with a bill. So they're going to be like, what really, truly, what is the insurance for? And I think that is very surprising to a lot of people that, uh, and people don't even notice that the insurance companies are actually negotiating. I bet probably, at least 50% of you, if not even more, thought that the insurance companies are actually paying the bill, like, whatever the bill would have been that you would have paid, that they're actually paying it. That's why you pay insurance. That's what insurance is there for. Uh, but, they don't. They negotiate on that bill, which means that in essence, the bill that even a medical provider was to send you and you didn't have insurance, you could technically have the ability to negotiate. And this is something that we do as a company, and that we know about is that if a person has medical bills, there is no way that you would pay the full rate on that medical bill, that you should always negotiate on that rate because the insurance company is not paying it. And if they're not paying it, why should you have to pay it? So I'm going to keep you up to date on that. Uh, and also, one of the things that before I end the video here is that one of the things that really I think made this whole thing even spike is that they said that 20% of the patients who visit emergency rooms are treated by out of network providers. And this is where the insurance companies said that there's an opening because they're like, we're having to pay and negotiate with companies that are not in our network. So this is what really makes a big issue with dealing with insurance. Another big thing that's part of this whole problem with medical bills and hospitals, doctors, insurance companies is that the doctors that actually work in the hospitals, they're saying, hey, I'm spending money on malpractice insurance. One thing that I think something that people don't know and understand when a doctor works for a hospital, uh, in a way, it's like they're an independent contractor because they have to maintain their own insurances. Yeah, they get paid by the hospital, or some of them may come in and just uh, use that hospital as as their base for performing uh, operations and different services where they're just like in a way like a partnership type agreement. So this comes down to where doctors do, they're like, hey, I believe that my value for what I do is worth a certain amount of money. And that's, they went to school, they went through training, they have continuing education training. There's a whole bunch of things that they have to continually go through. And then you have the hospitals, which are in the business of, making money. So you have all of that stuff clashing with each other. It's like everybody is really fighting for themselves to make sure that they're taken care of. Because when things like this, especially when laws like this are inactive and put into place, sometimes there's no turning back because they're gonna no matter what uh, party uh, you're with, when something like this is enacted and it gets the word out saying, hey, they're going to take away this surprise billing, who wants to be part of voting for something where they take away the ability of a hospital to, or I mean, take away or allow hospitals to be able to send you surprise billings? No one wants to be part of that, voting for some type of law that allows them to be able to do that. And so this is going to, probably start getting very heated. You're going to probably start seeing a lot of it in the news pretty soon because January 1st is when it was supposed to go into action. There's lawsuits that are trying to put it on hold right now, but we'll have to see because, uh, you know, this is going to be crazy if they're going to allow people to continuously get surprise bills in the mail from services that they thought were paid for by their insurance. Uh, One of the things that you should always, another thing that you should be aware of when it comes to uh, medical bills cannot show up on your credit reports if they have any uh, any names or anything of showing the procedures that you got. So, say that you went to a GI physician, they cannot have, and a lot of these companies have that in their name. And you have a bill and you owe them, they can't put that information on your credit reports because they're disclosing your medical history just by the name of their company. That's why you'll see a lot of them try to go to a collection agency rather than themselves because they know that just with their name, they're disclosing your medical history without your permission. Now they are sneaking in, when you get services, sneaking in a letter where you're signing, where they'll be able to, get third-party debt collectors to come after you if you don't, pay the whole bill or something, or something like this happens. But still can't do that because when you order, uh, do a debt validation with a debt collector over a medical bill, they would technically disclose your information again. That's why you'll see when you dispute a medical uh, bill with the debt collector that a lot of the times they will not continue. They'll send it back to the medical provider because they don't want to be any part of any lawsuits of it, having someone have any HIPAA violations from sharing medical data with a third party without full written permission from the person who got the services. But even with that said, the options that I see is that if you have medical bills, number one, you talk with your insurance company to make sure that it can be paid. If it's out of network, talk with your insurance company. There's always some type of uh, uh, waiver that you can get if it's a emergency situation. Even if you're stuck with paying part of it, they'll pay a piece of it because it's out of network. You have to pay the remaining amount because it was out of network. What you can do is you always know that you can negotiate uh, with the out of network medical provider. You have to stay strong with your negotiations because you know that they're not. One of the things that you could do is you could say, well, what is if I was an in network, if my insurance was in your network, what would you have charged me, or what would you have accepted from the insurance company? They don't even expect you to know that. So you can say, what are you paying insurance companies? You have a right to know that because you're a client, just like the insurance companies are paying for clients. They're not paying for themselves. They're paying for clients. So you have a right to do that. Other options is you can contact that hospital and see if there's any uh, uh, charity organizations that will pay medical bills. This is I had a client that got over 30 some thousand dollars worth of medical bills paid by a church organization that was attached to the hospital, where they would, you write them a letter, they would look at it and they would pay it. And especially with the end of the year, a lot of those types of charities like to spend all of their money that they set aside for this by the end of the year. So if you have any of that uh, available, I mean, if you have a medical situation and it was a procedure that was done at a hospital, but most of the time I've seen them at the major hospitals. You can ask if they have any charitable organizations that are attached to it to where they would pay some of the bills. A lot of people don't even know about that. Worst case scenario, again, is just to negotiate with them. Even if it's an in network and it's something with your deductibles, you can always see about doing negotiations. Uh, Before affordable healthcare came around, I was seeing 20 to 50% negotiations on settlements with deductibles. Now that the insurance is in place, it's went up to about 75%. But what you can do is you can always ask them to contact a medical provider to get a denial. Whenever a third party debt collector is working on the behalf of an original creditor, you have a right to make settlement offers and you have a right to get the denial from the original creditor. A lot of people don't know that because the debt collector, what they'll do is they'll just say no, we don't accept this offer. They can't do that when they're working as a third party. They have to get that in writing and submit that to they have to get it in writing that it's denied from the original creditor, and then they have to send you a copy of that, and then you just start the settlement process, the negotiations all over again. Some of the times they'll come back and tell you, hey, we'll settle for this amount, and then you can make a counter offer. You'll be surprised what they will come back with, especially if it's still in the hands of the original creditor and it's being handled by a third party. And from what I've been seeing right now with most third party debt collection companies that are working with hospitals, that they're not doing it on commission, that they're just hired by them, they pay a retainer, they take care of all of their accounts, and they're not doing it on where they're doing a commission or some type of split. So yes, they're going to try to get them the full amount, but they're more willing to do negotiations because they're not going to make more or less just because of the amount that they collect on their account. All right, so I hope that this information helped you out, and then I'll keep you up to date as to what happens with this when I get more information. If you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video, What Makes Us Different. That shows how we repair credit. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website your3scores.com, uh, and you can get complete credit reports and scores, and you can look at the comments, everything, all the information that you need for us to be able to work on your credit and for you to be able to see how the information and who placed it on there and how it's affecting you with your credit reports. And then if you need my 3-pack of letters, they're always free below here. My cease and desist collection activities letter, my statute of limitations letter, and my debt validation letter. Those would also work with medical debt collections. All right, this is Stephen A. Williams, President and founder of the creditrepairshop.com. Thank you, and until next time.